Hi, my name is Carla Thompson, and I'm just going to take a few moments to express myself about mental health. The way I'm going to do that is kind of like just telling you about my personal experience and my personal story about mental illness that I actually suffered. So I have had something called body dysmorphia and bulimia. And body dysmorphia is not really known. I feel like it's kind of underrepresented as a mental health illness. And a lot of awareness still needs to be raised because there's not a lot of people that know about it. And there are people suffering. And I just feel like it's something that's so close to my heart and that people need to start taking more serious. Because it can be seen as vanity or narcissism, when it's really far from that. It's quite a serious social anxiety disorder. So just to kind of define quickly what body dysmorphia is, it's based on how a person perceives their physical appearance. So in my case, it was my face. I was really obsessed with, unhealthily obsessed with how I looked, my face looked. I would see my face in a different way to what other people would see. So for me, I felt like I looked hideous, that I looked ugly, like my face was fat, that I kind of looked mannish. I just felt really, really, really ugly. And I know those are quite harsh words to use, but that's the reality of what was in my mind. And I say what was in my mind because what I would see was not what someone else would see. So even though people would give me compliments and say nice things about me, it would go in one ear and out of the other, because I used to believe that people were saying it because they had sympathy for me, or they just didn't know how to tell me that, oh Carly, you're ugly, type of thing. So they would kind of cover it up with nice comments. This is what I thought. So I would never take compliments well. I'd always get embarrassed with compliments, and I'd always feel like people were lying and just trying to be nice, and it wasn't genuine, no matter how many times people would tell me. And so it started from the age of 13. I became quite self-conscious of the way that I looked. And I would compare myself to my other friends and tell them how pretty they were, and kind of just wish that I kind of could look like them and just feel like them, like kind of happy with my parents and just have no cares. And just not worry about what I looked like. So I kind of envied that from my friends at some point. It's wrong to envy people, but at that point in my mental state, I used to kind of just wish that I could be normal like everyone else and feel good like everyone else. Because in my head, I felt like everyone loved themselves. Everyone, accepted who they were. And I know as teenagers, not everyone's kind of finding who they are. And so time went on, and then I got to about 14, 15. So yeah, 14, I kind of, things started to get gradually worse. So I decided, after a comment was made, someone had actually said to me, like this guy at school had gone through all the girls that he thought was pretty, and he was like, yeah, this girl's pretty, but you're not pretty. And it kind of triggered off things in a worse way. Because then in my mind, I thought, oh my gosh, how I've been feeling is now being confirmed. Great. I must be ugly because he thinks I'm not attractive. And it wasn't just his comment, by the way. Obviously, this is how I was feeling already. So I decided to start counting my calories. And I started feeling very, very uncomfortable with my physical appearance. And I thought, okay, if I lose weight, then I'm going to feel happy with how I look. So I decided to diet. And I started to do excessive exercise. Like it was just ridiculous. And then time went on. And I started to have a very unhealthy relationship with food. Because I thought, okay, well, if my face is fat and I want to feel beautiful, I just need to lose weight and then I'm going to feel great. But this was far from the truth. So I started to have an unhealthy relationship with food. So what I would do was I'd start to feel very guilty for eating. And that then developed into bulimia. And with that, like, I would eat, and I love my food, so it was really frustrating that I had to be watching my calories. So I would eat and then feel really, really bad for eating. So I would go to the bathroom and literally throw everything up. And then it kind of led to binge eating, where I'd be so hungry because I'd be starving myself, and I'd be eating and then feeling so bad, but the food was just, I just literally would just like stuff my face with food and then feel really bad after and guilty. So I would then go to the bathroom and just be sick. And I remember doing this when I had friends in my house. Like, I'd be upstairs, we'd be eating food, and then I'd pretend like I was going to the toilet and throw up, which is, I just was really, really, really lost. And things just continue to get worse for me. There's more, there's obviously more, but I'm just trying to kind of just say it briefly, so I don't want the video to be too long. But safety behavior started to develop. So I would avoid mirrors, reflections in public spaces. I didn't like looking in the mirror when anyone else was around. I couldn't do my makeup. Even if my friends were in the same mirror, I'd feel so conscious. I had to be in the bathrooms. I used to use the bathroom mirror to do my makeup because I couldn't be around anyone else. So I'd avoid my reflection. I'd avoid photos being taken unless I was taking them or whatever. I'd just feel so anxious about having my photo or video taken. It was just ridiculous. Like, it was really, really taking over my life. Instead of looking in mirrors in public spaces, what I would do is I would look at like the reflective flush a bit in the toilets at my reflection, just so that I didn't have to look in the mirror in front of people. I'd do that when I was at work. There was just so many things that I was doing that were really strange. And I kind of knew that something wasn't right because I would get really, really depressed and I wouldn't want to leave the house, and I'd cry, and I just used to wish that I just could be freed from how I felt. And I do remember saying to God one day, like, God, please, can you just free me? Can you just let me just feel normal for one day? Like, can I just be normal one day, please? And I remember going to the doctors, and she didn't believe me. I felt like she didn't believe me because all she had said to me was, oh, it's probably just your hormones. Just take evening primrose. And it was quite devastating because I knew that I was suffering inside, but it's like nobody could understand what was going on. People just thought, oh, you've got low self-esteem, you're going to grow out of it. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just attention seeking. Or they just didn't get it. And it's not attention seeking, it's something that is actually, it's a mental issue. I didn't want to feel how I was feeling. If I could feel normal and like who I was, then I would have. And I was fighting to, I wanted to, I was desperate to love who I was, but it's like I couldn't. I really, really struggled. I thought that changing my physical appearance would make me feel happier, whether I changed the color of my hair, whether I started to wear makeup, whether I was in a relationship. None of these things made me feel good about myself. In fact, they made me feel worse. Because it's like I was losing hope. So I felt like I was rejected by the doctors, who I felt didn't believe me, so I must have been lying then. Well, it made me feel like I was kind of maybe delusional or crazy. And I suffered a lot alone in silence. And although I had support from like my cousin and my best friend that I had, they would always encourage me, but it's like it just wasn't getting in my head. Excuse me, it wasn't getting in my head. So I was full of frustration. I was just wanting to just be normal. So about a year and a half later, I decided, you know what, I've had enough. I can't live like this anymore. I want to get over this. I felt like I wanted to be free, and I felt like something was just weighing me down all the time, depressed, not wanting to go out the house because of how I felt. You know, I'd often be late because I'd literally break down thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to go out the house. I feel terrible. I don't want to leave the house. So sometimes I wouldn't even go to school, or I'd be late for work. Because I had to kind of like, I would keep checking in the mirror before I left the house just to feel okay. Or I would have to kind of like force myself to stop thinking negative thoughts. And it was just often very hard. And so I had enough, and I thought, you know what, I'm going back to this doctor again, and I'm going to beg her to believe me. I literally had to beg for this doctor to actually take me serious. And I think it's not only until she saw the desperation in my eyes that she actually said, you know what, okay, I'm going to refer you to a psychologist. Which she did, and I was referred to the Maudsley in Camberwell, the social anxiety disorder unit in Camberwell, where I was offered 3 months worth of cognitive behavioral therapy, which was fantastic. It did work for me, but the only thing that I would say to you is that to go into cognitive behavioral therapy, you've got to want to actually recover. If you haven't got that strength yet, it might be a bit of a struggle, but it's worth trying. But it might be a bit of a struggle because the therapist can't change you. He or she can provide you with the tools necessary to help your recovery, but you in fact have to put in, and you in fact have to want to actually recover, to be able to get through. And it was a scary process for me. There was a lot of tears, there was a lot of pain. At times I wanted to give up. At times I just felt like I couldn't do it, and I had the fear of, oh my gosh, but what if at the end of the 3 months I'm not normal, or I still hate myself? What if I relapse? But I made a vow to myself that I wasn't going to do it. And even if I did, I had the tools that I could put into use to actually fight off the symptoms, the BDD. I could fight it. So I looked at it as a battle. And I said to myself, I'm going to win this battle because I'm sick of you, BDD. You're not going to rule my life anymore. I'm sick of it. And I developed quite a strong fighting power within myself. And as time went on, I kind of developed my faith in God and really put my trust in him. And I believe that's where my progress has literally been boosted and boomed to the maximum when I put my trust in God, because literally my recovery would not have been as successful as it is without God completely. but cognitive behavioral therapy was key, also key for me, and played its part also. One thing I want to say is I'm going to do everything I can to help body dysmorphic disorder get the exposure that it needs, because too many people are suffering in silence. Too many people are made to feel like there's nothing wrong with them when there is, and they shouldn't be ashamed of having body dysmorphic disorder, let alone any mental health illness. You should not be ashamed of it. At some point, everyone goes through some sort of mental issue. We're human. We're not robots. Don't feel ashamed for feeling how you do. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not allowed to feel down. If it's not constructive, I wouldn't listen to it. But I would say to you to seek help. And my aim is to do all I can to raise awareness of body dysmorphic disorder and break the stigma that is attached to mental health, especially body dysmorphic disorder. Break the stigma of it's being seen as vanity or not actually a real mental illness when it really is. I'm sure I myself and other sufferers will be able to tell you that it's real. So yeah, I'm just here to kind of like encourage everybody. Do not be ashamed of your story. Do not be ashamed of your having body dysmorphic disorder, let alone any other mental illness. Seek help and talk, because there's a lot of talking. I feel is very therapeutic, because you're kind of letting out all the things that are trapped in your mind. You're letting it out. And I feel like that's one way of healing as well. That's why I'm not ashamed to talk about my past. I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, I used to really feel ugly. I'm not ashamed to say that there's days where I don't feel great. I'm human. I'm normal. That's normal like everyone else. It's not every day you're going to feel great, but I'm actually proud to say, and I thank God that I don't have body dysmorphic disorder anymore, because I've learned how to keep it at bay. I've used the strategies and tools that I've got to keep it at bay, and to, there's days where, my mind will be telling me certain things and I'm like, nope, not having it. Nope, not having it. And I know who God created me to be. So why should I suffer anymore? Why should I let it take over my life? And why should you? You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be free. You deserve to enjoy your life and not suffer. So seek medical advice, and I'm going to do all I can to help all of you as much as I can to support, to create my own platform to support everybody, to continue to raise awareness and to provide as much emotional support and encouragement as I can for all of you, because you're not alone. And I know it can be quite a scary and a lonely process and lonely experience, but there are people like me that are willing to help you and support you along the way, no matter how frustrating and as much of a struggle as it may be. You can do this, you can get through it, and you will get through it. So just stay positive and keep fighting. Keep fighting. Just keep fighting and don't give up. Do not give up. Don't. Just believe me, you can recover, and body dysmorphia will be conquered. So God bless, and thank you for watching.